Sport is usually something that business people do to relax. But here at London Business School, they've hired Paul McGinley, the captain of the victorious European Ryder Cup team, to share his thoughts with MBA students about leadership. I've come here to ask him exactly what it is that a golfing professional has to teach to those looking to go and lead in the business world. How did this meeting first happen?
Well, the relationship between Paul and the Leadership Institute first came about because an alumnus of London Business School introduced us through a mutual business acquaintance. I was told that Paul was talking to a different business school and maybe he really should be talking to the best business school in Europe. So Paul came along. We had a discussion about what I teach based on research and his experience leading in sport and in golf. And we very quickly realized we were actually having the same thing. We had common ground, we were talking about the same insights in leadership and so on. We didn't really know where that was going to go, but we knew that a relationship between London Business School Leadership Institute and Paul made sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a background in academia, 5 years at university when I was younger, so I'm used to being in places like this. And for me, it was a huge validation that somebody like Randall and London Business School were interested in speaking to me. Validated a lot of the stuff that I was doing in Gleneagles and what I've done in my management experiences up to now, and that gave me a lot of confidence. And I'm also of the belief that I'm on a journey here in terms of leadership and management, and I really want to learn, and what better to learn than from somebody like Randall. And I've been in some of his classes and I've learned a lot, and I like to get that balance right between having conversations with Randall and his team about what I've done, and also myself exploring new areas and putting layers onto original insights that I may have had.
What is it that you're doing here at London Business School? Because you're not a teacher, you're coming to speak to students. What do you share with them?
Yeah, I'm an executive fellow to the Leadership Institute, and there's been a case study where Randall has presented a case study to the Sloan class MBA on my behalf, and I went there and Randall spoke about it, and I sat at the back of the class and then listened to them discuss the case that we did at Gleneagles, and it was insightful hearing so many multicultural people, many of them without any background in golf, but the case study revolved around leadership and leadership principles, and to hear them discuss that and pinpoint them, and it was quite eerie and something I really enjoyed. And hearing Randall discuss with the class and take them in different directions through the whole Ryder Cup experience that I actually obviously experienced firsthand.
What is it that a golfer, though, a very successful golfer, has to teach people wanting to go into business?
Well, there's big similarities in my view between a business and trying to win something like the Ryder Cup, which is a very complex tournament in many ways, because golf is an individual sport, as we know, and the Ryder Cup happens only once every 2 years. It's one of the biggest sporting events in the world, and like all business ideas, you got to have a strategy. You got to have communication with the people involved. You got an execution of that strategy, and dealing with many of the leadership principles that business people would deal on a day-to-day basis, and a multicultural background are obviously a lot of the things that I faced as captain of the European team. So for me, there's a lot of similarities, and a lot of what I did in Gleneagles in terms of my captaincy were based on companies and what companies did, and just like companies would have started out at a very small base, I did too when I was captain of the Sevi Trophy team. Before I elevated to captaincy of the European team, it was like a company starting out at the very embryo stages. At that captaincy, we had no budget, and the first team meeting that I ever had in front of my peers was in the bedroom that I was staying in a hotel in Paris, and then the players lying on the bed and listening to me. So that all kind of elevated upwards as we came to the Ryder Cup, with obviously a bigger budget and much more expensive.
Randall, this is the first time you brought in a sports person to do this. Was that a difficult sell to the school, to bring in someone who wasn't a senior business executive, a corporate chief?
Well, I just had to really explain that Paul is not just a professional golfer, Paul is an experienced manager and leader in leading these many events, and successfully has an unblemished record as a team leader, and explaining it in that way, people very quickly kind of said, yes, like all the other executives we bring in, has a really successful career leading and managing people.
Paul, you're coming, as you say, back to university, having got a degree in business yourself. Do you think you'd come back, maybe become a sort of academic in the future? Is that attractive, or even as a student?
I certainly wouldn't rule out doing more education myself, and maybe exploring some of the courses that Randall does. It's something I really feel I'm on a journey. I really enjoy it. It's something that I think a lot of it comes naturally to me, but there's also a lot that I want to learn. I'm a real sponge for information, and listening to people like Randall, listening to business people, and watching sports, other sports, and managers in football, for example, and how they go about things and what strategy they use, and how they deal with the media, and how they deal with players and situations that come up. And I've got a real interest in that, so I certainly wouldn't rule that out. But in terms of teaching, I'm very happy to share my experiences, but I think I'll leave the teaching to experts like Randall.
Paul, Randall, thank you very much.